Evet evet.
Create meeting yazıyor. Ha, in the meeting.
Yeterli geliyor mu Ahmet?
Bir daha konuşur musun abi?
Sen de mi konuş?
Konuşuyorum ben. Merhaba.
Bir saniye.
Sesin yeterli gelip gelmediğini biraz daha konuşursan anlayacağım abi. Daha bitiremedim ya.
Şu an değil mi? Bir de sen ses verir misin?
Trafik olması iyi oldu.
Bir daha. Gel senin.
Merhaba.
Bir daha.
Merhaba. Sesim geliyor mu? Merhaba, iyi günler. Sesim çok iyi geliyor. Ses 1-2.
Mikrofonu
Tamam,
kontrol
değil mi?
edecek. Hani bir iki
Sen konuş abi biraz.
ben de
Bir iki.
ben size şey demiştim.
Evet.
Paul
Bir
Kennedy.
iki.
Paul Kennedy.
Geliyor mu Ahmet?
Dediniz burada da splendid isolation'da. Meşhur.
Ses gayet iyi geliyor abi.
Dear Madam, yok, şeyde yok, programda başlayınca şey yaparız. Alors, Eline Botger, mademoiselle.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Good, I'm good. How are you?
Thank you. We make this slide. First, we take you as a European Union representative. Then we will have Madame Daniela. Then we will have Professor Murat Erdoğan covering the information that you provide us and looking from Turkish perspective and Turkish position. So it is not like on the program, but you start first, Daniela, Cicchella will continue, and Murat Erdoğan is the last one. Is it fine? Okay?
Yeah, perfect. No problem.
Perfect. I hope Madame Daniela heard us. Does she know?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Welcome. How are you, Madam?
Good morning. Fine, thank you. Sorry, just to clarify, I will be the second to speak, yeah, or the first? The second? Okay, first, thank you so much.
First Eline, then you, and then Professor Murat Erdoğan.
Perfect, thank you.
It will be a good discussion anyway, good webinar. I'm looking forward. And just one more minute, then I will start.
Transfer edeyim.
Bana verin. O yeter.
Öyle mi?
Okay, perfect. It looks very nice. So, good afternoon. The webinar organized by Foreign Policy Institute and by the Czech Republic with the second part will continue. And I have next to me Ambassador Ergin Soner, who is also one part of our Foreign Policy Institute representatives. And I'm looking forward now to have a very good debate and discussion about a very big challenge of the century, but not only for the Turkey, European Union, etc., but as Madame Daniela probably will tell us, it is a global phenomenon. The discussion about the migration, refugee, asylum seekers, and next year it will be already 70 years, Geneva Convention, and the world is moving further. Despite COVID, refugees are still on the way, as we see recently in Italy, in the Mediterranean. We see all these people movements. And the question is here, how do we face these challenges politically and institutionally, and even as the United Nations, the most important institution in this respect for all the countries. And I would like to thank again for the joint cooperation to the Embassy of Czech Republic. And we will have this line. Madame Eline Botger will be the first speaker. Then we have Madame Daniela Cicchella. And then as the last speaker, we will have Professor Murat Erdoğan. And it will be awfully fruitful 2 hours intellectual discussion. So Eline Botger, welcome very much. And you have the floor as representative of the European Union. please tell us how do you see the migration issue, refugee issue in general. So please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Many thanks for inviting me today and for giving me the possibility to exchange some ideas on this important topic. Let me start by saying that indeed migration is a very important aspect of cooperation, between Turkey and the European Union. If you only look at the map, it shows why. It's due to its geographical position. Turkey is a very prominent reception country and also a transit country for refugees and migrants, and it's also a very close neighbor to the European Union. As a result of the unprecedented number of arrivals due to the crisis in Syria and the conflict in Iraq, Turkey, as we all know, is hosting almost 4 million refugees, which is a very significant number and also the largest number of refugees, refugee community in the world. And this includes 3.6 registered Syrian refugees and almost around like 400,000 refugees from other nationalities. In 2016, the European Union and its member states decided to step up to support Turkey politically and technically and financially, to support Turkey in its effort to host this large group of migrants. In the meantime, the EU has provided financial and technical support, both on the humanitarian side and on the development side. And in total, the EU has mobilized, in the first instance, 6 billion euros, next to the bilateral sums already provided by the member states. And hopefully, it is good news, by the end of this year, we hope to fully contract these 6 billion euros. The implementation of this 6 billion will continue approximately until 2025. In supporting Turkey, we're focused on 6 priority areas. We focused on humanitarian assistance, on education, on health, on municipal infrastructure, on socio-economic support, and on migration management. And well, this sounds a bit abstract, so to make it a bit more concrete, we have funded 1.7 million refugees, their daily support, their basic needs, of which we have like almost 700,000 refugee children enabled to go to school. We've facilitated training capacities for their educational staff. We supported schools, and we made sure that children were able to have adequate school transportation. In addition to education, we also focused on health. We set up healthcare centers, which proved, especially in the pandemic, very useful. They provide facilities for refugees and, for example, with multiple language speakers. And we also supported 12 million healthcare consultations. Moreover, something the EU is quite proud of is its humanitarian program, the Emergency Social Safety Nets, which allowed Syrian citizens in Turkey to make sure that they can cover their daily needs, and they can decide by themselves whether it would be food, fuel, rent, or medicine. So assisting refugees is very important. That's what the EU has been doing over the last years. But it's also important to have a look at the host communities. The people who are hosting these communities have also their needs. So next to the 6 billion euro mobilized in 2016, the EU agreed in this year to mobilize an additional 485 million euros to assure continuation and to also continue with our flagship programs. As I said, it's important to also pay attention to the host communities, and especially because Turkey makes a commemorative effort in receiving, hosting, and supporting these numbers of refugees. it has had an impact on the host communities. So in this context, I would like to highlight that we also take their needs into account. And we, for example, run programs to increase access to quality education, not only for Syrian refugees, but also for Turkey's children. Another example, for Syrian and Turkish entrepreneurs, there's a program to benefit for funds in the socio-economic development program. Maybe to add, especially for this year, we've seen the devastating impact of the COVID-19 outbreak, the global pandemic observed in all strands of society, but especially particularly affected migrants in Turkey, as they are among vulnerable and fragile in the world. And this has led to additional stress through the pandemic, and especially if you look at the loss of livelihoods, the health concerns, effective remote schooling has become more problematic for children, especially when not all the equipment is available at home. And this also had led to social tensions. So again, the EU stepped up and we directed another 83 million euro this summer to help Turkey with the COVID response, and in particular in order to support the most vulnerable refugees. As an introduction, I would like to keep it for here, but I'm happy to talk about the EU's support to Turkey later on. Thank you.
So after this introduction, then we can listen now to Madame Daniela Cicchella. She is the Deputy Director of the UNHCR. So she will look from the other perspective now. And please, Madame, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Just to greet all of you, the distinguished representative, of course, of the Turkish authorities, of different diplomatic missions, international organizations, non-governmental organizations, the academia, in particular Professor Bağcı and Professor Erdoğan, and the civil society all. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm very pleased to be with you today on behalf of the UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency. And I would like to thank also the Embassy from the Czech Republic and the Foreign Policy Institute for organizing this very important event on migration. The perspective of my intervention and contribution will be primarily focusing on the linkages between international protection and migration. We live, as already mentioned, in a time of unprecedented human mobility. There are estimated to be around the world 272 million migrants worldwide. For most of them, the migration is a voluntary experience, safe and also enriching. For too many others, however, this is not the case. For too many, and these are those that UNHCR normally looks at, the number of people forcibly displaced is really very high, and now has reached globally 70.5 million people who have been forcibly displaced. Out of them, currently there are 26 million refugees. Half of them are minors, are children. If we look also into numbers and statistics, we have almost 40,000 individuals that every day are displaced forcibly. That means one person almost every 2 minutes. The challenge faced by refugees and migrants is also to be considered in coordination in consideration of the challenges posed to states, because they are all very interlinked. And while there are many issues to be addressed, there are also similar and common. They require also nuanced approach and very differentiated responses. The most important thing I would like to start with is to make a reference to the word of refugees and migrants. These two words are used normally more and more interchangeably without any distinction. But I think these two terms have a very distinct meaning, and it's important to clarify this to avoid confusion, also in relation to problems that both populations may face. The causes in which conflict and persecution take root often overlaps with factors that shape also the migration flows. Weak governance, impoverishment, deep inequalities, environmental degradation, lack of resources, water scarcity, food insecurity, also last but not least, more recently, the climate change. The phenomenon of what we call mixed migration flows has been therefore becoming increasingly prominent. And with refugees and migrants moving more and more across international borders, crossing lands and seas, without actually also crossing areas where often there is no state, there is no power exercised by state, but often by parallel form of authorities. We cannot forget there are also transnational armed groups. There is also smuggling and trafficking networks. In some regions, in addition, the overriding logic of deterrence and control is also been forcing migrants and refugees into more exploitative and risky, dangerous journey across mountains and seas. Against this backdrop and challenges, in September 2016, the United Nations General Assembly adopted an important declaration, the New York Declaration on Refugees and Migrants, a series of political commitments from different heads of states that sign out in order to deliver a coherent, comprehensive, large-scale response to population flows. In one word, there's been a commitment at global level for a responsibility sharing. This declaration also set the way for the adoption of two important compacts that were adopted in 2018, the Global Compact on Refugees and the Global Compact on Migrants, benefiting from the experience and contribution from different organizations, civil society from around the world. The Global Compact on Refugees in particular has a specific attention, and there are a few key objectives that are important in this context, particularly if we consider Turkey and the reality of Turkey. The first objective is to ease the pressure on host countries, to enhance the refugee self-reliance, to expand access to third country solutions, and support conditions in country of origin for return in safety and dignity. As I mentioned, it's a commitment, a global level, which is important to look at, to have a more effective responsibility sharing. And the colleague, the Eline, that represented Miss Eline from the EU delegation, has already also indicated the support from different entities towards this responsibility sharing. So it is very important to look into this more recent development international level for migrants and refugees. I think it's, as already mentioned also by Ms. Eline, it is important to mention that Turkey remains for the last 6 years the largest refugee hosting country with 4 million refugees. But I think numbers in themselves may not really give us a good sense of really the volume of this number. But for instance, if I mention that there are more refugees in Turkey than in all European Union combined together, maybe you can see also the impact and the challenge and how huge is the number of refugees in Turkey and the challenges faced in Turkey. However, we also have to say, it is important to mention that Turkey has a long stand for its tradition and generosity in supporting refugees and asylum seekers. And also Turkey has adopted a very important comprehensive legal framework to support refugees and asylum seekers. This is a remarkable level of hospitality that needs to be stressed because it's been engaged and incorporated inside the law of this country. Turkey also is very important to mention that has made very clear the distinction between refugees and migrants. And this has been helping a lot and projecting also the support that Turkey has been providing to refugees and asylum seekers, even ahead of what actually happened after the New York Declaration. Because of this, to recognize the support of Turkey to refugees, Turkey was invited last year. Actually, in these days, we have 1 year from the first Global Refugee Forum that was convened in Geneva, and Turkey was the co-convenant of this important forum. This is important to mention that Turkey was selected as co-convenant of this forum, not only because of the large number of refugees that has been hosting, but the most important thing is to mention that Turkey has actually established a very large number of good practices. Actually, as a matter of fact, Turkey is the largest, has recorded the largest recognized good practice vis-à-vis refugees at global level. With almost 60 good practices, the second country globally that followed Turkey has almost 30 something good practices recorded. This is very important because that's also set the tone of the support of refugees in this country, the division of the concept between refugees and migrants, but also the importance and the recognition of the engagement of different entities to make effective the refugee response in Turkey, including from the civil society, and also events important like this from the academia and so on. Another important element that I would like to reflect on is the fact that, of course, when we talk about conflict and wars, as I mentioned earlier, there is also an important responsibility for the states to manage their borders. And this, of course, has been posing a number of challenges at global level for the refugees and asylum seekers to access protection, but also in terms of managing the security of different countries and their borders. So this also has been increasing restriction in terms of access, is also having an impact in terms of mixed migration movement, and unfortunately also a number of increasing challenges posed by the traffickers and the smuggling narrative. So it is definitely fundamental to mention that it is, while there is important the refugee protection, we need to be also very cautious and conscious about the challenges in relation to security. And we need to appeal and to make always sure that the protection of refugees is accompanied by a manageable border that respect also the access to the international protection. Another important element that I would like to focus before concluding is the durable solutions. Durable solution normally for those familiar with this concept are the possibility to return in safety and dignity one day to the country of origin. It also been the resettlement. The resettlement has been one of the areas that UNHCR, together with many countries, have been working on to offer a number of places where the refugees could be resettled. And this resettlement is also important to be seen as a responsibility sharing. Turkey, UNHCR Turkey, has been for the last few years the largest resettlement operation globally. That means that there are more refugees being resettled from Turkey in order of also ensuring a responsibility sharing than from any other country in the world. But still the needs are very high. We are talking about probably around this year, around 20,000 refugees compared with 4 million. So it is important to also very innovatively, very creatively keep working together with the different governments, and there are a number of pilots we are considered on with the generosity of many resettlement countries, but also the civil society and different refugee communities to look also into the so-called complementary pathways. So that in addition to the ongoing identification of refugees in need of resettlement that is being done in Turkey, it is also very important to say by the Directorate for Migration, DGMM, Also, the complementary pathways are additional element that focusing on education, and is important to mention in this context of the forum, the webinar that we have now, and labor mobility may increase the number and opportunity for refugees to find a solution that goes beyond resettlement, pure resettlement, but also taking the advantage of the generosity of many countries and also their migration policies. So, in order to conclude, I just would like to quote, allow me to quote the words that echo my High Commissioner, who, Filippo Grandi, who mentioned that we commit to a more equitable sharing of responsibilities for hosting and supporting the world's refugees. So I'm confident that with the contribution of all the panelists and also of the participants, there will be, we can have an additional further reflection together on this complex intersection between refugee movements and the broader dynamics on human mobilities and migration. So I wish all of us to continue these enriching exchanges, and I hope to remain in touch with you to work further together and to discuss together on the forcibly displaced person. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Indeed, it was very helpful to understand the global structure where Eline was telling us how the European Union sees and ready to support Turkey in this case. And as you rightly indicated, Turkey is the #1 country in the world with 4 million refugees. And this is maybe the most important situation on Turkey, this generosity. What the Turkish state and the Turkish people show is indeed a great thing. In several conferences internationally and nationally, I suggested that the Turkish people should be given the Nobel Prize for Peace because 4 million people to host them here and then also pay from their taxes and welcoming them. It is unique. I mean, as you said rightly, Turkey has more refugees, all the European countries combined, as Eline was also indicating. So it is an interesting situation, but it is a big challenge also for Turkish society from political, social, psychological points of view. And, but on the other hand, the debates internationally that we have morale of migration, as a German philosopher from the University of Munich was indicating. What is the right of the people? Is the migration is a right for people? Should we get it as a normative value globally? It is a very difficult issue, but the important point is that Turkey is one of the countries where from all the borders, whether it's the Iranian border or Syrian border, Iraqi border, or even Greece and Bulgarian border, it is, and Mediterranean and Aegean, of course. Suddenly Turkey is like an island for many people, for refugees, but is an island or a bridge that they continue to go to Europe and some other countries. As we know, Russia does not accept any refugees. It is a problem. Ukraine does not accept any refugees. Georgia does not accept any refugees. Azerbaijan does not accept any refugees. The only country which recognizing Turkey, it should be taken high. And my suggestion, at least as an independent institute director, president, to Nobel Prize givers, that the Turkish nation, I'm not talking about the Turkish government, I'm talking about the Turkish nation, to be given this prize for hospitality. Since more than 7 years, the people are here, they give the birth to the children. We have, since yesterday we learned that more than 10,000 people are already increased in number of refugees. And this is why after these 2 presentations, Eline and Daniela, I'm very thankful to you for your background information. Then we go now to to the hardcore, if you want, a Turkish expert, maybe one of the best of experts about migration issue, who wrote several articles, published researches, and even faced a lot of critics by certain groups in Turkey, by certain political parties, but is also an independent mind, and he says what he thinks. As he said, the Syrians are not going back. We have to live together. Recently, when he gave some interviews to Turkish newspapers, I'm talking about Professor Murat Erdoğan, who is not only nationally but internationally recognized expert on Syrian refugees. So I'm looking forward for his presentation now. And then after his presentation, of course, we will have open Q&A, and I will try to moderate the discussion and get a sense of problem, a sense of understanding, and enlighten us about the positions of the international institutions like UNHCR or like European Union, and Turkey as the country which is subject of this migration at the moment, #1 in the world. So Murat Erdoğan, you have the floor. I'm very happy to have you again in one of my webinars, and now you have the floor.
I need permission for my presentation.
You have the permission, of course. We are looking forward.
But physically not. Not yet, at least. I'm waiting for that.
After COVID.
I think. No, but it is really, it's a technical problem. And then I get also already. And then now I need for screen sharing and permits from your team.
We share the screen, we share the ideas. Don't worry. Our assistants will help you.
Hocam ama gösteremiyorum. PowerPoint'imi yansıtabilmem için hocam sizin bir biçimde ona izin vermeniz lazım. Beni co-host olarak.
So my executive assistant will come and help. Is the guy who is doing this screen sharing. Okay. This is the guy. This is Can, our expert. Yes. Şeyini mi Murat?
Hocam şu an ekranımı paylaşmaya çalışıyorum, sunumumu. Ama siz buna
just a minute. One second.
Okay.
1 second. Your glasses look very nice. So highly intellectual, and what is more important, real expert on refugee migration.
Thank you.
Looking forward. Just a few minutes.
But okay.
Just a minute. Meanwhile, you receive some messages that glasses look very nice, and you are full of energy, and you will face a lot of critics also.
I feel myself as a refugee. I have no access to go to the tunnel.
We provide you temporary protection. Don't worry now.
Temporary protection. Okay. Shall I wait?
Just a minute. Just a minute. Yes. Now you are. Murat, yes, you are co-host now. Cem.
I feel myself, but it doesn't work.
Başka birini yaptık. Murat Erdoğan.
Başka bir Murat'ım yaptılar hocam.
Bir çıkar mısın?
İsim benzerliği.
Murat Erdoğan. Alttaki.
Pardon. Çok hızlı. Buyurun hocam. Diğerini kaldır istersen.
Evet.
Tamam.
Murat Erdoğan. Murat, you are now co-host. Do you see?
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Finally, I can also see you. Okay, now, exactly.
Yes, very good.
Okay. Can you see me now? Everything is fine?
Yes, yes, perfect.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you very much for the invitation and then the previous presentation. I had a technical problem and because of that I missed some of the presentation, but thank you very much one more time to give this opportunity. Yesterday was much more easy for me. We talk about the Turks in Germany. It's a very nice subject with cartoons and very funny things, etc. But unfortunately, if we talk about the refugees, it's a very dramatic issue. In all sense, in a sociological sense or political sense, it is not easy to make joke, etc. But Hüseyin Hoca said already, we should also say something to the Turkish society, maybe not to the Turkish government, but for Turkish society. It's very important. And then I will also want to also show how huge is the solidarity of Turkish society and then how their performance is very important. And then maybe it's also very important in European language or American language, if we talk about something and then we say that always, thanks to the European taxpayer, thanks to the American taxpayer, etc. But if we talk about the Turkey, we are thankful only to the government, not to Turkish society or taxpayer. It's also strange mentality actually. I think we should also thanks to the Turkish taxpayer, because if we have any problem in Turkey and then we pay anything, it is not coming from any institution, but it is also money from Turkish taxpayer. I would like to also give some detail about the migration issue in Turkey in general, in global aspect, and then a little bit about the Syrian Barometer survey. I'm thankful to the UNHCR Turkey. They give me support for this survey, and then we are already doing for Syrian Barometer 2020. What's the reason? Because it is a huge sociological issue, and then we live together with Syrians since 2011. It's almost 10 years, and then it looks like it is not easy to go back for the Syrians. I mean, a voluntary return is a fantasy, and I'm saying since 2015, and it is of course for our own peaceful life important to understand what's the reaction of Turkish society, what's the feeling of the Syrians, etc., etc. The Syrian Barometer survey is in this framework most comprehensive survey, and it is also a survey that we also make one more time and then see the differences between, for example, 2015, 2017, 2019, etc. But I will give some detail about the report about our Syrian Barometer survey. And then if you have interest, you can also reach easily in UNHCR Turkey webpage in 3 languages, in Turkish, English, and Arabic. And the numbers, we have a lot of numbers. Unfortunately, I have to give also, because it's also a part of our issue. If we have 10,000 refugees, of course, we will not talk too much, but if you have more than millions, then of course, it is important to talk. I wish to be a citizen of Czech Republic, because I already checked that they have around 5,000 or 6,000 refugees, I think. Of course, it means not that they have no problem, they have no responsibility, it's another issue. But if you have really huge numbers, then it is very difficult to manage all the issue. As you know, in 2020, we have more than 280 million international migrants. It's very important, and it is also very acceptable. And then they live also mostly in developed countries, in Canada, in US, or Germany, or Saudi Arabia, or Russia, etc., etc. But we have also the refugees or IDPs. Refugees is around 30 million, and where they live, if you look at, and then you can see the differences between the refugees and then migrants. The refugees issue is always very risky, and because of that, all the countries try to stop the refugees and then try to push the other countries, and then we have already these problems. And it is the map of UNHCR, and then we can also see here very clearly only 15% of the refugees can have opportunity to go to good countries, I mean rich countries, only 15%, but the others, they live with us or the other neighboring countries, relative poor countries, etc. This can be not changed in short term, maybe in mid-term also not, but it's a reality. We should see that. It is exactly in global sense, the Syrian refugees, 6.6 million Syrian refugees, we are talking about their 85%, they live also with us together, only 15%, they reach Europe or Canada or US, etc., these countries. And then if you look at the most refugee hosting countries, okay, Germany is an exceptional case. Last 3 years, Germany is also in top 10 list, but the other countries, Turkey, Colombia, Pakistan, Uganda, Sudan, Iran, Lebanon, Bangladesh, Ethiopia, and it is really very a huge challenge for all these countries to manage the refugee issue. And if you, we know very well, and then Hüseyin Hocam, you know much better than me, the security concern after the Cold War, it's totally changed. And then the NATO self, they try to stop the refugees in Mediterranean, not stop the war in Syria. And it's the new reality. And then because of that, we should also see this reality also. And now already we have a new pact on migration and asylum of EU. It's very important. And then we write and peace with Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu and Nihal Eminoğlu together for Brookings. And there are a lot of criticism. The criticism actually is mostly because of the global compact on refugees or and migrants. Because the new pact on migration and asylum show us what's the mentality in EU now. And it's unfortunately not helpful. And it is, for me, it's also not sustainable. It is a general critics to EU. I mean, not because of now we have very stressful days because of the summit, EU summit, and then they will decide some decision about the Turkey, etc. I want to make a general comment on this new pact. But new pact said that we want to have migrants, quality migrants, if it is possible, but we don't want to have refugees. Maybe symbolic numbers, but not too much. And then it means it's an externalization policy is, in this sense, very legal instrument of the EU. And it's also not easy to understand why we did make 2 years ago Global Compact on Refugees. And then we talk a lot about the burden sharing, responsibility sharing, etc., etc. It is very problematic issue. And then we will discuss also next feature. EU-Turkey relations, unfortunately, the last 5 years, we are talking about almost only the refugee issue. And then Turkey used us as an instrument, and then EU have another policy, etc. Unfortunately, next feature we will also discuss. And then we had already a very bad experience in February, March in Pazarkule, in Edirne, between Turkey and then Greek border, you know. And then I have a worry. We will see also such kind of problems in next feature. Of course, this question is a very important question, and then we can ask always for ourselves and then for the countries, etc., etc. Czech Republic and then their neighbors, Germany, Austria, Slovakia, Poland, etc., and Hungary. No, not Hungary. But if you look at our geography, unfortunately, it's not easy to have a stable system and then stability in this region. But instead of that, Turkey is a very huge country, over 80 million population, almost good economy, infrastructure, and human capacity. It's very important. But we know that. And then already we established more than 1,000-kilometer borders wall. We criticized a lot to the Europeans first, but then we established a new wall. It is one of the huge, length wall in the border. But it is really very difficult. And then it is not only the interest of the Turks, but also the interest of the Europeans. And because of that, it's very, very problematic. I will skip these numbers about the Czech Republic, etc., but it's very symbolic numbers. I have always respect, it is each country have, of course, right to protect their country. And then, of course, it is not easy. It's a risky issue. And I cannot say that, yeah, we have a lot of migrants or refugees, why you have not? It is not easy to say that. But it is also not a sustainable issue. And then we know very well, even in EU, there are a lot of differences between the countries, and then burden sharing, responsibility sharing, etc. We can forget the Turkey, but you can look at the Germany and the other countries, France, Netherlands, Austria, etc., etc. It is very, very problematic issue. Okay. Very fast about the refugees in Turkey. We have very, very colorful migration history. And we have migrants, we have also, of course, refugees in this sense, but it was relative manageable till 2011. In 2011, in April, the first group from Syria reached Turkey. And it was a very small group. And in 2011, we had altogether 14,000 refugees. It was not too much. It was manageable. And because of that, Turkish government established the refugee camps in the border area, and then new refugee camps until 26 refugee camps, and then capacity was around 300,000. But then ISIS, because of the ISIS, the conflict in Syria has another aspect. And then everybody thought that, yeah, it was a part of the Arab Spring, and then the Assad and then his regime cannot stay there, etc., etc. But everything is goes another direction. But after 2011, the Turkey has a new experience. We didn't get this kind of experience. Of course, Turkey gets migrants and then refugees, etc. But after 2011, the situation is totally changed. It is, for example, 1923, the Mubadele, I mean, the population exchange between Greek and Bulgarian. It was also an experience, and it's also a part of the Turkish history. But as I said, now what we have, it is really very interesting. I want to also say very, very briefly about the domestic migration in Turkey, which is also very, very intensive. And then we have almost over 3 million migrants, domestic migrants in Turkey. It is, I think, good to understand, to be foreigner, to have tolerance, and also to manage the together life, or very, very colorful life. And as you know, we have a lot very huge cities. In Germany and then Turkey, we have almost the same population. But if you look at the Germany, they have only 4 cities. They have more than 1 million population. But if you look at the Turkey, we have more than 23 cities in Turkey. They have more than 1 million population. We like city centers. We like big cities. Okay, we hate, we discuss, we criticize, etc., etc. But end of the day, we know we live in big cities. But big cities means also very colorful sociological background. From Hakkari, from Rize, from Trabzon, from Kütahya, everybody, they live together. And then it is good to understand newcomers. It is not important whether they're coming from Arab or they are coming from Syria. I think it is good to know that. It gives also for the Turkish society motivation, or at least ignorance for refugees. We have also another, of course, experience, Turks abroad. Because of Turks abroad, we learn also a lot. For example, what does it mean foreigners to be? Or what does it mean discrimination? And a lot of aspects, we get also this experience with Turkish migrants in European countries. It is our geography. We had also experience with huge forced migration issue. But this figure is, I think, very important. If you look at the figure, you can see in 2011, we had in Turkey 58,000 people. We can call them as a refugee, but in international protection holders or applicants, only 58,000, 2011. And then after 3 years, we were the most refugee hosting country in the world. It is huge differences. And then now already we have in Turkey almost 4 million refugees. Because of that, we, thanks to always Turkish society and then Turkish taxpayer, it is not easy to manage. And then it's also very important, the Germany, of course, for us always the organization. Germany means always organization. It's the system in Germany, Königsteiner Schlüssel, and then they have a system for the refugees, and then they send some people, Bavaria, the other people, North Rhine-Westphalia or Berlin, etc., etc. But it is Turkish system. Most liberal refugee settlement system. They decide themselves where they want to live. And then it is the situation now in Turkey. Maybe it's good, we don't know. Because of their solidarity, in our Syrian Barometer survey, we can also see very easily the Syrian feel themselves more secure, more comfortable, happy, etc., etc. It makes also possible, actually, this, how can I say, liberal settlement system. But it brings also problems between the cities, between the regions, and then also districts. It is another huge handicap. And we have also some new Turkish citizens, I mean, Syrian background Turkish citizens, around 100,000, 20,000. And around 100,000 also Syrians live in Turkey with resident permit. Altogether, the Syrian, I mean, these as a society, not the status, but as a society, around 4 million Syrians. But we have another big issue. It is also, as you know, the irregular migrants. It is huge problem, and then it will create huge problem next future for Turkey and also for EU. We should make cooperation, especially for irregular migrants. Very briefly about the demographic structure of the Syrians in Turkey. More than 1 million children, they are between 5 to 17, it means school-age children. And then the huge success, I think, more than 680,000 Syrian children, they visit now Turkish schools and then learn Turkish. It's of course a strategic decision of the Turkish government. It makes also more easy to stay forever in Turkey. But it costs also a lot. Only the students, you know, in Turkey, as students at Turkish schools cost around €1,000 per year for Turkish government. And if you make a calculation, you can see only the students from Syrians now in the schools, it costs at least 680 million euros per year. Okay. I'm very thankful to the EU side. They give us money, they give us support. We have no other support actually. No Arabic countries give money, no Russia, no China, no Americans, etc. I'm very thankful. But it is a part of the issue. And then unfortunately, the money is only a small part of the whole refugee issue. I skip all of them. And then about the Syrian Barometer survey, very briefly, I would like to also give some figures. It's a Syrian survey I made, first of all, in 2013. We had almost 300,000 Syrians in Turkey at that time. And then 2014, and then 15, and then 17, Syrian Barometer survey. And then in between, I made also another survey about the economic aspect, education aspect, etc., and especially the local governments aspect. Now, we made also 2019 Syrian Barometer survey. As I said, that it's a very comprehensive survey with a huge team, very good migration experts with us together. And we made it with Turks and then Syrians. Okay. And then not only a pool, but also we made also focus group discussion. It was also very helpful. About the Turkish society. As you know, all the mass migration issue or refugee, the ordinary people have always worried about loss of work, increase in criminality, reduction of public services, and threats against the identity. These four is always the main issue, and then we can see in general in all countries. And then what's happening in Turkey? We know that the Turkish society gave huge solidarity and then support to the Syrian refugees, the beginning of the process, the first 3 years, but then they also recognized they will stay in Turkey. It was not a decision of mine or Turkish society, but it was a sociological development. And then if we ask to the Turkish society, who are the Syrians? The description was till 2 years ago, always the victim who's escaped persecution, war, etc., etc. But now the Turkish society, they find them or they describe them dangerous people. They didn't protect their homeland or burden on us, etc., etc. It is the change very dramatically. And we ask another. I have too much slides. Of course, I cannot explain all of them, but if you wish, I will also share with you, or you can also see all of them in Syrian Barometer survey, in Turkish, in English, whatever you wish. Because of that, I will skip. Hocam bir şey söylediniz galiba.
We will share it later on when you.
Yeah, pleasure.
No problem.
Pleasure. Okay, and it's also very important. We discuss always if I'm in European countries. I mean, till last year before the pandemic. The Europeans said that they are very culturally close to you and that it's very easy to integrate. It is for me never ever realistic aspect. You know, the Germans, they were not together politically 45 years. And then even today in German, they discuss OCs and then WESIs and then their integration. It is not easy. Of course, the cultural similarities make something easy, but beginning of the process, and if their number is not too huge, but if you have huge numbers, then it's not easy. And then Turkish society, they give a message. They said that they are not similar with us culturally. Of course, it is not correct maybe, but it's the perception of the Turkish society. The Syrians feel Turks very closely, but the Turks show their, how can I say, their tendency. And social distance is huge actually. And it is also sadly, we live with together since 2015 exactly, together in big cities. We live together. It's a success story actually. But if you ask the Turkish society, they give another response and then they are not happy and then they have huge worries. And then social distance is every day more longer than before. It is also for next future another problem. For example, 2 years ago, it was -36, now -51. It is huge differences only in 2 years, 2017, 2019. And then I'm almost sure we will get more distance next survey. And if we live with them together, I mean the Turks and the Syrians, and I have no doubt for that. It is not wish, but it's a reality, I think. Then we should discuss and then think about how can we live together peacefully. Okay, we cannot want them, but if they are here and then if they not go, then how can we manage the system? We should think about that. It was very interestingly, I made also another survey in 2018 in Şanlıurfa. The social distance in Şanlıurfa was bigger than general in Turkey. In Şanlıurfa is normally the people talk Arabic and then they have also relationship, very, very fast relationship, etc. But it makes not too much sense. And then Turkish society believe that they will stay forever in Turkey. More than 90% of Turkish society, they believe that at least half of them will stay forever in Turkey. Okay, Then comes the question: can we live with them together peacefully? The Turkish society have no this how can I say not optimistic view actually. And then, if we ask to the Turkish society, where should Syrian in Turkey live? In Turkey live, but they said that they should go safe zone. They should definitely send back. They should only live in camp. We establish for them cities, extra cities. I mean, all of them, we can call them as an isolation. Turkish society give them support. Turkish society actually live with them together. But if they have an opportunity, they want to them isolate. It is also another reality. And then it will affect also the politicians. I am almost sure we will have soon political parties very typical as we in Germany or Holland or Belgium or the other countries we have the experience, anti-refugee, anti-migrants parties. We will have also, there is also potential, I mean the political potential. And what is the cost of the Syrians? For me, it's the most important cost of the Syrians if we get in Turkey more racist, more intolerant society. It is a part of the cost. Okay, and at that point, I will not explain you, and maybe it will be better if we talk about a little bit Syrians. But these three issues, solidarity, support, and sympathy to Syrians is very, very problematic now, and it's decreasing rapidly. I am talking about the social acceptance. Now we are talking about more tolerance, not acceptance, but a tolerance. And it's also very fragile. And for Turks, Turkish society, the Syrians problem is in Turkey number 3.3. For 27% of Turks, this is number 1, more than important than terror, more than important than economy, etc., etc. It is, of course, it will also affect to the politics. For Syrians, I will give not too much detail also for that. Only some very important issue that we also talk about that. The ethnical structure of the Syrians is around, in this table, you can see that around 80% Arabic and around 16% Kurdish and then 13% Turkish. It is not too much important because the Turkish society called them as Syrians. It is point, and it is small issue. They work already in Turkey. Without working, they cannot live in Turkey. They have some support from EU money, ESSN support program, etc., etc. But more than 38% of the Syrians work already in Turkey. And it is not a contribution to Turkish economy. The loss is much more bigger, but they live with their own effort. It's also very valuable, very important. We ask always the same question, and then we can also compare both of them. And then they feel themselves more happy in Turkey, not too much excluded in Turkey. It's also very important. Instead of the reaction of the Turkish society and the other issues, it's a very positive picture. If you compare 2017 and 2019, for Syrians, it's very positive. But for Turks, it's almost the other side. And they complain about the working condition mostly, but it is also less than before. It is also very important, very positive figures. And about the return, it is very important for all. If we talk about the social cohesion, together life, etc., etc., we should also understand what is their feeling and their opinion. You can see here very clearly, I think one of the important figures in our survey. 2 years ago only, about the return, 16%, they said that under any circumstances, I don't want to go to Syria. Okay. Now this percentage reached 51.8. It is huge differences. And then it shows us their future perspective, actually. And then number 2 is also very important. It was in 2017, #1. They said that if the war ended in Syria and then our administration we want is formed, then we can go. It was 60%, now 30%. I mean, up to now, it is my opinion as a migration expert, up to now, nothing changed for Syrians in Turkey for return. Okay, maybe newcomers, they cannot come, but they have no interest to come return. We asked that in next year, 12 months, do we have a plan to go back? Voluntary return, of course, only 6.8%. And they want to go, of course, not to safe zone, etc., but their own city or village, etc. And then they see all future in Turkey for themselves. They want to have a citizenship in Turkey. And then it's also very important. It was mostly the attractive one was double citizenship. Now they want to have Turkish citizenship, only Turkish citizenship. It looks like also very important. And okay, these numbers and then integration issue. Integration is a very complicated issue. I'm doing every day more tables, and then it's very, very complicated. It is not easy. And especially in this age with this communication skills, etc., etc. And then we should concentrate on more social acceptance. We should give more support, not the governmental issue, but the social level is very important. And then secondly, local integration strategies is very, very important because of the very other different numbers of the refugees. For example, in Ankara, you cannot see in Mustafa Kemal Mahallesi or Çankaya refugees, but if you go to Altındağ or Mamak or Siteler, of course you can see. And because of that, we should make district level local integration strategies. It's very important. And lastly, about very, very briefly about the Turkey and then EU relationship. I am always fan for Turkey-EU relationship. I have to say that. My PhD was about the Turkish-EU relationship. And I see for Turkish democracy, for human rights, for the stable country in our region, it is very essential. But unfortunately, not only because of the refugees, but last 10 years, it's very horrible, very negative years. And then there are a lot reason. But with the refugees, this problem is more bigger than before. And then we talk EU, mostly only the central is always the refugees, and then we talk about the refugees. And then EU has an instrument. They give us money, it's good. And we should also keep these refugees in Turkey. It's the formulation. Everybody knows that. I mean, it is not a secret. All of them know that. But think about the opposite. If the Turkey give the money to EU, not per year, as you know, we get 6 billion euro from EU for refugees in Turkey. It means per year, 1.5 billion euro. If Turkish government said that, hey, Europa, as you know, we said that very often, we give you 20 billion euro per year, and then we can give you guarantee for next 10 years. I mean, we will give you 200 billion euro. But please take only 2 million refugees. Can EU accept that? Of course not. It means money is important. We need also this money. And then our operations in Turkey is going mostly with EU money, but money is only a part of that. Each country, also Canada, also Australia, US, nobody want to have refugee. Of course they have some refugee. If UNHCR make a control and then send them with a quota, etc., etc. Of course, for example, United Kingdom get this year's around 5,000, but we have over 4 million. You cannot compare both of them. Or Canada, they get per year 350,000 migrants from different countries, from their, they cook, of course, or look at their documents, etc., etc. but they have only 10% of these numbers. I mean, 350,000, only 10%, they accept the refugees, and with another regulation, etc., etc. Unexpected human mobility is a danger for all countries, but please, for us also. We cannot forget, and then we need to make sustainable relations. We should think about also irregular migrants. We had already this experience. It was very horrible experience. And then I have to say that we will see also this picture, because the Turkish politicians, they understand very well. It's good. For the Turkish society, they forget immediately our soldiers died in Idlib. Everybody forget it, and then everybody look at the border, Greek border. This instrument will be used, and it is bad for all. First of all, the refugees, also Turkey, for Turkish-EU relationship. But it is also a part of the unfortunate reality, and it will be also an instrument. And as you know, they are not Syrians. Syrians have no interest to go. In our survey, you can see also, they have, of course, they want, some of them, they want to go, but with a permission, with a visa, with a legal way, but not as the Afghani or Pakistani. They have two choices: deported, or maybe if they have an opportunity to go to European countries, of course they will can go. But it was very bad experience. We should think about it. Lastly, we have, through the refugees, actually we complain about a lot, but we have also a lot of cooperation with EU or European countries. It's very good. And then we have in two sectors very good development, NGOs and then local governments. And then the EU and then the other institutions, they give also support. It's good for next future. But as I said, that especially Turkey and EU, we need really very sustainable relations. And don't forget, say sometimes, thanks to Turkish taxpayer, we have government, we have, of course, the leaders, politicians, etc., but they don't give money. The money going from Turkish, or goes from Turkish taxpayer, and then exactly the same, we are thankful to the Turkish European taxpayer, but we don't forget also the Turkish taxpayer. Thank you very much. Sorry, it was too long.
So it is not too long. It was very interesting, very rich in explanations and numbers and arguments. And you said, thanks to Turkish taxpayers, I said that Nobel Prize should go to Turkish people. You call it taxpayers, but I call it to Turkish people. So hospitable, so generous. It is a good example how the international cooperation can go, despite the fact, the challenges, what you suggested or reminded us that we are going to face. Professor Erdoğan, thank you very much for this comprehensive explanation. I think we learned a lot. And now, after listening Eline from European Union, definitely she has something to say concerning the European help, the money which you mentioned. But I don't think so also that even Turkey would suggest $1 trillion that the European countries would take 4 million refugees. So it is, maybe she can answer, I don't know how she thinks, but it is a very interesting challenge, as you said. And now I open the question and answer period. Eline and Daniela, if you want to add something to Professor Erdoğan's statements, I can take shortly and then go to question and answer period if you want. Eline?
Thank you very much. It was a very interesting presentation. I enjoyed it a lot, but I would propose to go to the Q&A first.
Thank you.
Daniela, do you want to say something? or should we go to question and answer period?
Yeah, I think we can go to the question and answers. I mean, maybe the only comment I have, I know well the work of Professor Erdoğan, which we respect, is the fact, of course, that we don't have yet a solution, a political solution in Syria, and this I think is a fundamental element, because of course issues can develop now for a number of years. Refugees have been here, but I think we should also keep open to prospect that eventually there might be in the future, and how this may eventually affect. One of the things that I always noted with particular interest, especially talking with students at the moment, is also to see how the interest in education of Syrian refugees has changed over years. I remember in 2013, when I was working in another, 2012-13, I was working in another country in the region. The majority were studying, English literature, many other things. And then the interest went to certain subjects that can help in the future to rebuild Syria. So it's interesting also to see the attitude of the students, of the Syrian youth, and to see how this would impact in the future. And whether a big important developments may impact the trends that have been rightly observed, but whether there might be additional element to play into these dynamics in the future. Thanks.
Hocam, can I add something about this education issue very briefly? Hocam, duyuyor musunuz beni?
Yes, please go on.
Okay, sorry. Daniela, thank you very much. It's really very important issue. As you know, we have also in Turkey Syrian university students, and their number reached 33,000. This is a huge number. And I give also a lot importance for this strategy. It was not easy, and then in political sense, it was also risky for the government actually, because in Turkey, it's very difficult to reach a place at the universities for ordinary Turkish youth. And then at the same time, more than 20,000, 33,000 Syrians, they get a position or a place at the Turkish universities. And I think it's very important, not only for their future, but only for peaceful life, for next future, for integration policies. They will be our bridges, social bridges, role models. It is very important. And I think 2 points of Turkish government, they did it good. One was the 2016, they decided the Syrian children sent to Turkish schools. It was very important strategic decision. And then secondly, to accept the Syrians who their education drop in Syria, and then we accept them at the universities. I think these 2 points is very important, but important, the second step, we have around 500 PhD students at Turkish universities, Syrian background, around 1,500 master's students. After their education, what is the challenge? It is most importantly, actually. Mm. We should, as a Turkey, we should keep them in Turkey. If we cannot manage, it will be huge disappointed for Turkish society, and it will be also a handicap for next future for the integration issue, I think. Thank you.
Yes, Murat, thank you much for this explanation. Couple of years ago, I was asked by Al Jazeera International. The question was very interesting. They said, Professor Bağcı, Turkey let the people, the Syrians, to be employed in agricultural field, very cheap. You use them as the, in quotation, modern slavery. I said, ask the government, not me. I'm the wrong person for this. But there is also a very interesting question, I mean, related to this personal anecdote. There is a question by Mr. Cicchella, and I think it is to Daniela directed. Some countries committed unlawful treatment against international migrants and refugees. Even I remember 2016-17, the International Human Rights Watch was accusing Turkey also to abuse the refugees. And the Turkish government's statement was many of them are terrorists, etc. But the question to Daniela is, does UNHCR perform properly to prevent this type of events or atrocities is too hard word. Mistreatment would be better. So how is the UNHCR going to share the responsibility of migration issue with Russia, China, and other major countries? So you take the people as refugees, you make a lot of sacrifices, but you are criticized to mistreat the people. Or is it so? I don't know. The question is really so. Has Turkey really mistreated the people? The question is also to Professor Erdoğan, Daniela and Erdoğan, because one is official, the other one is academic. So it would be complementary, your answers. Daniela, you have the floor.
Thank you. I mean, I don't know, to be very honest, specifically the specific issues that Mr. Cicchella has been referring to in 2016. I was not in this country, but I can answer at a global level, a general level. UNHCR does work with the different governments, and if there are information, normally we ask a query, we try to advocate to ensure that the rights also of the asylum seekers and the refugees, the access to protection is ensured. That goes from advocacy when it comes to eventual access to the territory, access to safety, and in the overall process. So there is normally a sort of working closely, monitoring with civil society, with the authorities, and advocacy is being undertaken at when required at the most appropriate level to ensure follow-up. This is something that we do a global level, having a sort of so-called legally supervisory role vis-a-vis the refugee protection. Thank you.
Can I add also something, Hocam?
Dr. Cicchella corrected. He said, I mean European Court of Human Rights, meaning whether this institution is taking the responsibility. I don't know, probably not, because European Court of Human Rights has another responsibility. Maybe there is one misunderstanding. So Murat Bey, you have the floor.
Irregular employment, I mean unofficial, ne diyorduk ona hocam, unuttum ben şimdi. Kayıt dışı çalışma.
Unregistered.
Unregistered employment. Of course, we in our survey, we can also see very clearly. We had also today a meeting of UNESCO and also from international labor organizations, Numambe. They gave also some numbers. We know through our survey, at least 1.2 million Syrians work already in Turkey. Of course, informally. And then I get also some questions. They are working informally, and it is also against the human rights, etc., etc. I know that. But the people, they forget easily how many Turkish citizens work already in Turkey informally. You know the numbers? 10 million. The informal sector is one of the huge problem in Turkish economy. It is not a new issue. And you can also see the Turkish Statistic Institution, TÜİK, very easily. Over 32% of Turkish workers, they work already in Turkey informally. Especially in COVID time, it was much more problematic. Now, government give, for example, to workers who don't want to work, only 1,200 Turkish lira. It is less than average wage. I mean, it is a huge problem, but unfortunately, not only for refugees, but also the Turkish citizens. But don't forget, I am sure the Europeans know that very well. Why Europeans have a worry about the refugees? Because uncontrolled human mobility can cause problems. The number one, how can we find for them job? But in Turkey, we can find them job. How? Informal sector. But we have to also think about the decent work, decent job. It's very important, universal words, etc., etc. But it is the reality, unfortunately. And then one more time, in Turkey, more than 10 million Turkish citizens work already informal. And for refugees, we have also no other opportunities. And because of that, I say always, one of the big chance for all, for refugees and for Turkish society, was unfortunately this informal sector. It is not sustainable, it is not good. It is then, of course, against all the human rights issue, etc. It's clear, but it's the reality. Because of the informal sector, they can establish their life with their own effort, and more importantly, they can get, they didn't get any job places from Turks. Maybe in the region a little bit, but not too much. We have now very high rate of the unemployment in Turkey, but nobody can say that it's because of the Syrians. It's a chance for Syrians, for the Turkish society.
So this is a very interesting statement. Maybe I open the discussion to another direction, because you, Murat, indicated that there will be probably political parties with the intention to bring to awareness the Syrian issue. Do you mean there will be populistic movements in Turkey against refugees, as we see in certain European countries emerging? Do you think that in Turkey also we will have Syrian phobia, as it is called Turkophobia or Islamophobia in Europe? Do we, are we going to have Syrian phobia here in Turkey? Recently, in local elections, for example, some mayors made this type of policies, and they won. Indeed, they won the elections. So, and there are some Turkish politicians who have been indicating always that it will be a big problem for political future. Demographic changes will take place. How would you see this first demography in certain areas of the country, and the political organizational structure of the Syrians? How the Syrians can come together and establish a political party? What is the value of it? Will it be viable for Turkish political party structure?
Hocam, it is very important. First of all, maybe about the demography, because it's for the populist politicians, it's always very attractive to talk about the demography. They birth a lot of children, etc., etc. You know the mentality. It is one part. Since 2011, we get in Turkey over 600,000 Syrian babies. They were born in Turkey. Per year, around 100,000 babies born in Turkey. Last year was around 107,000. I don't know what will be in 2020, but it's also the same numbers. And then, because of these numbers, they make a lot of speculation. We know that in Germany, the Germans complain about the Turks, they have too much babies. In France, they complain about the people from Algeria or the other countries, they have a lot of babies, as you know. But they live now in city centers. And then I am almost sure their numbers, I mean, the babies' numbers will decrease. And then the demographic change in Turkey because of the Syrians is a fantasy of the politicians, populist politicians. I have to say that. But it doesn't not, it means not we have a problem. We have problem. It is not easy. Suddenly came 4 million people. You have also no document. You have also not too much information about that. And it's a very problematic region we have. And it can also give fear or worry to the host communities. And especially the numbers is huge. And then if you have big numbers, it is exactly the same Turks in Germany, exactly the same Algerian in France or Mexican in US. If you have huge number, then you have a solidarity. You don't need host community more. You have also a lot of experience in Germany, Hocam. The Turks, some Turks say that, Allah shukr, I have no words of in German. Of course, he or they don't need. They establish already their society, and then the Germans said that it's a parallel society, as you know. It's a discussion always, and then we will have also the sociological ghetto. We will have also already we have. It's already established, and they have self-confidence. This self-confidence give more worry to the host societies. It's a paradoxical relations if you have huge numbers. For example, in Turkey, we have also around 50,000 refugees from Iran. Nobody talk about that. It is manageable. But if you have millions, then it is very problematic. In Istanbul, only a district, Esenyurt, more than 220,000 refugees live in Esenyurt, in a district. Of course, the Syrian established their own system, Afghani established their own system, and the others. It is for their security good, for their feeling it's good. But how can we manage to be a whole society who live in Turkey together? It is the problem. And for the politicians, of course, you know, what's the cost of the Syrians? Not for me, 30 billions, 40 billions, 50 billions, etc., etc. I have no interest for this discussion. Of course, it's very costly and it's very, very painful issue. But more importantly for Turkey, as a Democrat liberal academics, I have to say that for our democracy, we take a lot of risks. Anti-European, anti-Western discourse is more stronger than before because of the refugees. It's very important. I mean, not all, but it's an instrument. The externalization policy of EU, in Turkey, we have another policy, instrumentalization of the refugee issue. And then it makes for Turkish democracy really huge defect. And then the racist populist discourse is really very interesting. 2 days ago in Paris, there are football match, Başakşehir and Paris Saint-Germain. And because of the referee speech to a black football player, we discuss a lot on all the parties, send a message in Twitter, etc., etc. We give all the message in a maximal level. But the same people write tomorrow, Syrians go back. Okay, it's a drama in our society. You know, some of them ask me, how can we manage? How can we have a peaceful society? I say always, first of all, we should love each other. We hate each other in Turkey, in political aspect, social aspect. We should aware that, and then we should decrease this feeling. If we have too much discussion and then conflict, then newcomers, they have no chance. They have no chance. And then if we not give them opportunity to integrate to Turkish society, they establish their own society. It's very clearly. We have enough experience for that in the old world. And then for political aspect, as I said that, we discuss a lot the neo-Nazi or rightist parties in European countries, etc., etc. We have also, already we have, there is no party in Turkey said that, or even also the left party, etc., say that we should have a really human right-based system for the refugees, etc.
Yeah, Murat Bey, there are some questions, but do you say that as in Germany, Untitled Chapter, for example, was kept responsible for this, that Germany rejected so many years to be recognized as the country of refugees? There was a strong reaction of the German society not to accept the foreigners as part of the society. So, but they became part of the society. So, and then now the German politicians talk about that Germany is a migration country, refugee country, etc. Do you think that we will have a similar situation that some politicians reject that Turkey is a refugee country, or should they accept, okay, we are a refugee country and we should take measures?
Hocam, it is a very important question. We should also think about that.
Yeah.
Through the migrants, we know a lot of countries, through the migrants, they have better situation. Okay, there are also some very typical migrants countries as Canada, US or Australia, but through the refugees, two huge numbers of refugees, you cannot manage everything. And there are huge differences between refugees and migrants hosting countries. You have right. What we discuss in European countries, Turks is since 1961 in Germany, but even today, some Germans discuss their problems or their integration problems in Germany, and then they see them as a threat for German society. Yesterday, I gave my conference, and then we talk about the Tito Sarrazin, and then his book, etc., etc. As you know,
okay.
Of course, it is another issue, but the hate is a part, an art of pandemic actually. Mm-hmm. If you have hate, and then if you say every day, yearly and milli, I don't know how can I say that in English. It is risk for all, you know. It is a new tendency in all countries, not only in Turkey. Look at the Hungary or Poland or the other European countries. It is not only issue in Turkey.
Yeah, there are some
refugee managing.
Murat, there are some questions. Maybe I should take them because I know you can answer hours about this. But I would like to have more other questions. Meryem Gün asked you like pandemic issue. After the negative effects of COVID-19 on economy, will there be new contributions to Turkey? This is one question. I have three questions. Please take notes if you want. The second one is, Mr. Erdoğan, can you say something about the law number 6458, foreigners and international protection that passed by National Assembly at the beginning of the refugee crisis? And one more question is, after seeing the reports, how would you personally evaluate the mindset of almost half of the refugees for their decision to not return back to Syria in any circumstances? Do you consider the established practices in Turkey as a win for seeing Turkey like a new heaven, or is it more related to seeing the improbability of reaching the European Union and fear of being sent back? Good questions.
There is also another question about the Uyghurs in China. Okay, maybe it will be for you interesting. Yeah, it is everything. All questions very important, but for COVID, I have to thank to UNHCR and then EU. They give a lot of support for the refugees in Turkey. It will be not easy to manage the whole process because the Turkish government had almost already very limited source for that. And then we ignore also the refugees, but we cannot in a pandemic ignore the refugees. But UNHCR give a lot of effort. I know a lot also NGOs, and then the money coming mostly from EU. It's also very important. It was really very critical process, and then it's going on. Unfortunately, it's not end, but they give support. And then till now, we have also not clear data how affected the refugees, the COVID. But we guess that we have some very simple information. They had almost the same as the Turks affected COVID issue. But for their work, they lost their job. They get less money than before, and then they have to work. And because of that, they have to be mobile, and then it brings more risks. It is really not easy issue. But one important risk is that in this period, can also Turkish society think about that because of the Syrians, because of the refugees, we have more illness, more affected people, etc., etc. Thanks to God, till now, we have not this kind of discussion. I hope we will not also see. About the law, Foreigners and Protections law in 2013. It is also very important, and also Ms. Botger is also here, and then she can also contribute that. This regulation began, first of all, in 2000, because Turkey get a candidate status from EU, and then Turkey began with EU together, establish a new law for foreigners and refugees, also the border security. And then it cost a lot of time. And finally, in 2013, Turkey finished this law. But at that time, we had already in Turkey more than 1.5 million refugees. Not because of the Syrian refugees we make this law. It's very important, and then contribution of EU was very important. Mm-hmm. And we had almost more than law, but we have a problem because of the geographical limitation to the Geneva Convention. And we don't want to accept people who really refugee, but we want to give only Europeans refugee status. And it is a drama. It is also not realistic for me. Only in 4 countries in the world have this regulation: Madagascar, Monaco, Congo, and Turkey. It is not realistic. We had a worry. We thought that if we give them the refugee status, then Turkey will be a refugee paradise. Okay, now we have also already. I mean, it changed nothing. If they come, they are coming. And then only 10% of them, they can go to other countries. The rest live in Turkey. And because of that, one of the handicap of this regulation, I mean, the law, is this geographical limitation. It's continued. They didn't change everything. But it is also important to have such kind of very comprehensive law. For Syrians, for return, voluntary return, I believe that as an academic, as an experienced migrant also, I was also 8 years, 9 years in Germany. Syrian will stay in Turkey forever, over 90%. Point. It's my opinion. Okay. I wish I will have another picture. Okay, I have no problem for that. But it is my view and my opinion, because first of all, the Syria, a chronic, very complicated drama going on. Nobody knows what's the future of the Syria. And then Syria is now as a destroyed country. You have almost no infrastructure, no water, electricity, hospitals, schools, etc., etc. Some region maybe, but some of them almost not. And then they have also no idea if they go back, what will have because of their situation with Syrian regime or government. Because for regime, they were not good people actually. And secondly, in Turkey, they established their life in Turkey. They have over 600,000 babies in Turkey. Their children visit Turkish schools, learn Turkish. They forget already their Arabic. Their young people, they visited Turkish universities, more than 33,000. More than 1 million Syrians established their life in Turkey. They work already. And most importantly, they are not in refugee camps or border area. They live with us together in big cities. It is almost impossible to go voluntarily. But a government can say that we take the temporary protection status and then you should go back. We want to by force, if we need, send them back. Of course, the politicians can have this idea, but I think it's also too late. They cannot do it for 4 million people. It is too late.
Yeah.
We can discuss the politicians and their wrong decisions, etc., etc. It's another discussion. But only small part of them, they can go maybe to Europe. Only very small part of them, mostly the older people, they can go back to die in Syria. But the others, they will stay in Turkey forever. Yeah. It is not easy to go back. Yes.
This is a very interesting thing. Even if the Turkish government would force those people to go back, then there will be international critics that Turkey deport the people by force. So it is a very difficult situation. I mean, it is a problem created by the circumstances when the Arab Spring started, and Turkey is really stuck on it. Now the question would be probably how to manage the existence of these people here, to integrate them into Turkish society and make socially, politically, economically viable citizens in the long run. I mean, definitely those people, I tend also to think more and more, they will not go back. It will be like Turkish workers in Germany, first generation, second generation. They love Turkey, but they don't go back. They don't come back. The Syrians will love their country, but they will not go back. So a similar situation. I think I take one more question, and then listening to Eline and Daniela, then we can have a so wrap up, if you want, from the webinar.
Hocam Uygur Türklerini unutmayın ama. Çin'deki Uygurları unutmayın.
What happened to them? Sorry, I didn't see this. Just a minute. Let me see. Okay, I'm sorry. Question from Elçi Bey, Elterişan Elçi Bey. Mr. Erdoğan means
no.
Not President Erdoğan. This is Professor Erdoğan. So the people.
I'm ordinary Erdoğan. Don't worry.
Should not make a mistake. Mr. Professor Erdoğan, I correct. How do you interpret the repatriation of some Uyghur Turks to China? Is there a double standard in refugee policies? This is a very interesting question. And the last question would be two questions, Murat. How do you think will be the migration issue be affected by possible new Chancellor of Germany, because you are expert also on Germany. So Uyghur and German questions, please. You have the floor. Then if you speak so around 5 to 8 minutes, then Eline and Daniela can make their final statements, and then we will finish this wonderful webinar.
Hocam, I will not talk more than 3 minutes. For Uyghurs, unfortunately, we have very limited information. And because of the priorities of Turkish government, we keep the Chinese, and it is really very interestingly. We know that how important in Turkey, the Turkish people and then the nationalism in Turkey, but instead of that, I think because of the economic relation with China, Turkish government give no response, no reaction for that. I have also not too much information, sorry for that. But it shows us also, it's a priority issue. a selective issue. And you can ignore some of problems, and then the other maybe for you is most important issue, etc. It's a very typical issue, and then I think the question is very important and very settling. And then secondly, the Chancellor of Germany. I am a fan of the Angela Merkel. I am former Konrad Adenauer Stiftung.
You are not alone. You are not
fellow, but not because of that. I am. Yeah, it was a mistake. Actually, I am a very liberal academics, and but it is another issue. But for leadership in Europe, her performance is unbelievable, and everybody recognized that. And then after Angela Merkel, well, also for Germany and then for EU, not easy everything. And Angela Merkel give unbelievable performance for the accepting the refugees in 2015-16, and her performance was really very good. And how affected, we cannot say what's the new issue. But if you look at the new pact of EU, I think EU also in Greek border or Bulgarian border, etc., they will give more attention to the military force and more security perspective for refugees. And I think the EU will have also not too much refugees next future. Mm-hmm. Of course, Turkey can force some of them, but it's also not easy. Only one side open is problematic, but not always successfully. It's a very complicated issue. I think the refugee issue will affect, of course, all the elections in European countries. But in Germany, after Merkel, we are also waiting for that. I hope we will have also strong leadership, but also, if it is possible, a female leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I supervised a PhD thesis about Angela Merkel's and President Erdoğan's political leadership, of course, when he was prime minister, not president. So it is a very interesting study by Dr. Cicchella. And definitely it is very interesting also what you said. Germany will be a primary controller for today and tomorrow's decision of the European Union concerning the decision towards Turkey. But before this, maybe Eline and Daniela can say some words for this very interesting seminar. Eline, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this indeed very interesting seminar. Let me conclude by a couple of remarks. First one, of course, I guess this goes without saying, is also mentioned by the previous speakers, that let's hope that the crisis in Syria will calm down. I guess that's full of it, the first important step. The second point I would like to make as a conclusion is that nobody, of course, would deny the incredible challenge that Turkey is facing with the refugees. I guess that's very, as mentioned a couple of times during this seminar, it's very remarkable and it's very commendable. And it's also reminded us how important Turkey is, and we can't, as the EU, we can't solve this issue alone. But I would like also to stress that it is both for the EU and for Turkey very important to have this strategic relationship and to have a sort of development of cooperative and mutually beneficial relationship between both sides, because that's very important on this topic. And of course, it goes without saying that the refugees, hosting those refugees in Turkey comes also as a huge cost. That's also why the EU is willing to continue to support and do so. So we will give help for education, we help on health, on making sure that we develop some infrastructure. And I think that is really important that we continue this cooperation in very cooperative mindsets. And I guess for the near future, that's really important. I'll leave it here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Daniela? Daniela?
Thank you. Sorry, it was disconnected, so I just managed to connect again. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to follow the last two intervention, but I just would like to say thank you.
Very positive things.
I just would like to say thank you. I think it's always very, as I mentioned, very enriching to have these exchanges and to have the opportunity to talk with such a large forum. So as you know, also on behalf of UNHCR, we're really very interested in continuing this collaboration and working together. Thanks to Professor Erdoğan for all very important insight, and also the colleague from the European Union for the overall support that is being provided to us, also to the refugees. So I look for all the other opportunities to discuss and reflect together on a number of different issues. Thank you.
I thank you very much, Daniela. So with your permission, I thank to European Union representative Eline Botger for her contribution, for her statements. I thank to you as UNHCR representative, and I thank also very much to Murat Erdoğan. And this, our cooperation with the Czech embassy, I would consider as a success. With your permission, I thank to Ambassador Pavel Vacek for this organization, but also to diplomats behind this success have been also cultural attaché Martin Brosch, and of course my dear friend Andrea Kuchereva. So the Turkish Foreign Policy Institute and the Czech Republic have established this cooperation, and definitely we are looking forward with the European Union, with the UNHCR, also to make similar events here in Ankara at our institute, which is the most independent institute since 1974. We are not taking any party side. We are just above the political parties and make independent research and talks. I'm looking also forward to see our viewers, the people who have shown great interest since this morning for this conference. All my thanks go also to them for their patience, for their eagerness to learn, and of course, last but not least, to my people here at the Institute, my executive assistants, and also Mr. Ambassador Ersan, who is a great help to our institute. So I wish all of you a wonderful lockdown weekend. A couple of weeks probably will be locked down, but let's continue to keep in touch, and I would like to see you in our common webinars and wish you all the best. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Teşekkürler. Hoşçakalın.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Kapıyorum o zaman.